And welcome back to History of Fleetwood Mac. I'm Anita. Today we're going to continue episode 2 of volume 7 of my Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac scrapbooks. And I'm going to pick up where I left off on last video. And I'm going to start off with something really cool. I don't really remember where I got these, but I am going to do a whole separate video at some point. I'm going to try and bring some people in to help me because some people, if you notice in the Stevie community, and some of you may or may not know, but there's kind of a general that's right, we're a niche that a lot of fans do. I feel that I'm in one that's really in a vinyl and photos kind of niche. Some people are really into just the music and like particularly the demos. Some people really love Stevie Nicks, but they're really into her artwork. Some people are really into Stevie Nicks and just are into, they don't collect anything. And all this is fine. I find it's really funny because I know some fans who know like leaps and volumes more about stuff about, like, say, for example, Stevie's artwork, which I'm going to show you. I know this much. I know what I've seen and I like it, but I don't really seek it out. It's obviously very costly and hard to come by. It's freaking beautiful, but I'm just a big photo person, so I really, really try and find as many photos as I can. I would really love to own an original piece of Stevie art. I have some original Lindsay art, and I do have a signature that has like a little smiley face, which is technically Stevie art. But these photos I got some years ago, and it was a legitimate viewing. Like, she had her artwork on display, and somebody's told me what it was, but like that was years ago, and I really don't remember. But this was really cool because these little photos, and we've seen, we know the Rhiannon print, and then the video I would like to do would be like to show you all these with the names and as much information as I can get. And there's some really amazing fans out there that, like, said no more, and I'd like to question them more and kind of compile some stuff and maybe ask if there's some stuff I could show and talk more about. But this one has a name. They all have names, but I don't really remember. But again, these little photos came from somebody, being at that viewing gallery or whatever like that. They're really old photos. They're just those little old kind of square photos. So they're, they've been out a while. I think this might be from the 70s. I'm not sure. Maybe early 80s. I actually don't recall if there's a date on the back of them. But they were just photos I acquired, and I was just really stoked to have them. And just, it was really neat that there was that Stevie had them for viewing at some point. I would love to go to a Stevie art show. That would be amazing if she'd do something like that. Next to that is an original, like little flyer, little thing that Herbert Worthington had when he had these. I think they were about 11 by 17 or so prints available. He had 11 by 14, pardon me. And then he was talking about his calendar, and he has some postcards and stuff like that. And I've shown them here and again. One volume, I never noticed this, but one of the volumes that I have, or the amount of these photos that I have, all have in Roman numerals the date. And most all of them are in like 85 and 86. He was offering them, of course, much earlier. And so some of them might be in here because they're definitely more Wild Heart. But I noticed that the bulk of them seem to come out or are dated at least 85 and 86. So this is just a really cool little flyer thing that I think is mine. I think this is one of the things that I've had, but I could be wrong. I didn't get much mail from Herbert Worthington. I certainly wrote and tried to get as much as I could, but when I was young, I really didn't get that much. But you'll see actually what I did receive much later in the stuff I'm showing. This was a really cool photo session for Stevie. I remember getting, I think, one or both of these photos I'm about to show you and just about lost my mind. Like, I had never had really professional photos or like 8x10s, like, like real photos. I had all the magazine stuff. I think these were some of my very first like real photos. And it was a session I'd never seen, and just, kind of coming into the whole like knowledge of Stevie doing stuff. These are, of course, from the Stand Back video. And a lot of people think she's just she really does look like Carrie Fisher in pictures sometimes, or they just have that same kind of facial quality. But she's just freaking stunning in these photos. That eye makeup is to die for. It's just the right capture, the right side of her. These are some really beautiful photos of her that I believe are all by Herbert Worthington. But don't quote me on that. I've actually never checked to see, but I do believe that they are by him. And I've always wondered, What's on that medallion? I've looked and I've seen other pictures. This is probably some of the clearest ones. It kind of looks like a little elf. It reminds me of something from like Dark Crystal, or not Fraggle Rock, but that Jim Henson kind of, the different kind of stuff. That's what it looks like. Definitely looks like a little hologram. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I've always wondered. And after this time, I have maybe a couple other, like literally a couple other times where I've seen her wear it, but that was about it. Never seen it again. Some more from that time. Now, I want to say, I don't remember. Maybe it's another one I'm about to show you. But one of these, as some of you know, there was a poster. There's a really, really close-up shot of her, a poster. Maybe it's the next picture I'm going to show you. And it's like this, and it's really pretty, but it's kind of alarming because it's just such a close-up shot. And it's in a big poster size. This is really pretty when they're just regular photographs. But when you have the poster that close to your face, it's just kind of odd looking. It would have been really much nicer to have had it a little bit further away, even like this shot here. But it's funny to find out just how many there are of these. And actually, in the last year or two, I've seen some more come out from the session. They're just to die for. Just really beautiful photos. And this was one that I got, years and years and years ago. Again, from one of those shops that I keep telling you about. I don't think it was Star World. I definitely think it was Book City that I got this one from. And so I've had this one probably since about 1995, maybe. Really love this one. And this one might be the poster one, but this one is shown, definitely backed up so you can get more of the whole photo in here. It's just really a lovely, really beautiful photo. Again, that eye makeup, right? Another one that is some of my favorite sessions. Now, this is kind of a weird deal. Again, I'm very transparent in my original photos, things I purchased. And I'm really not a fan of right-clicking, I call it, things from the internet. There was a series of photographs that came up that go along with this. Another favorite session of mine, aren't they all? And these were given, and they were like the negatives. They were all put up online. This is really when Herbert Worthington stuff was really first on the internet. And again, I call it a feeding frenzy. For all the fans that were out there trying to buy it, there was just as many people that were buying it to turn around and like up the ante and resell it and stuff, which, whatever. But it discourages me when fans can't get it. So all the negatives that they had shown, a couple of the smart people had gone and we had, right-clicked them, saved them, and then we had reverse polarized the negatives. And I was able to get clear pictures out of a lot of these. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance if there's somebody who happens to be watching me who actually owns these. These came out and probably, again, right after Herbert passed away. So after 2001, I forget when he passed, like 2004 maybe. And I've never seen them since. And they're really beautiful photos. But I'm going to start with the original one that I have. And this is one that Herbert had offered, a long time ago. Herbert had these 11 by 14. Some were double signed. This one was signed by Herbert. But some people have this signed by Stevie and Herbert. I have one later on, also from Wild Heart era, that is signed by Stevie and Herbert. But this one is just just Herbert's signature. Pardon me. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo session. So this was one you could order a long time ago. But what came out around that time, and I really do love this page. I think I'm so artsy-fartsy with it. But again, I feel kind of bad because they are reverse polarized images that were on eBay. But they're gorgeous, and they came out. And I would have killed to have had just one. I would have killed to have had like traded with somebody for a copy, just like a legitimate copy. But you know what? I kind of dig how these look. They just give them a more old-timey feeling. So, Sandy Stewart? Yeah, Sandy Stewart. Sharon, Lori, Sandy, yeah. Then I had this feather thing for 100 years, and I just thought it went really well with the pictures. Carrying on with this photo, some are gifts. This one is an original. And I don't think that either one of these, maybe one a little bit later is going to be, I don't think that any are, I don't think I have any of these like for real, but pretty close. But just an absolutely stunning session, in my opinion. I know you're going to agree with me. This one, I believe, was from the calendar, but it definitely goes with this, obviously, the necklace, the hair, everything. And then this was real similar to the one I just showed you that was signed by Herbert. Yeah, I just thought it looked really pretty with that kind of green and blue. It's funny, my favorite color is green. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but Stevie detests it. Stevie Nicks, I think, has always said, actually, it's one of her least favorite colors. And I have so much green in my scrapbook collection, the papers, tapes, glitters, all that kind of crap. I really love when I can pull together a page with green and blue. Stevie uses green and blue like in wording, and she uses a little bit of that texture in those kind of colors. She's very into earth tones, but like the jewel greens and blues and purples and stuff like that, not her bag. We saw a little bit of that with Trouble in Shangri-La, a little bit of the green, but I just think it's funny when I put together a page with so much green, because I know she wouldn't like it. She just wouldn't like the color combo. But I just thought this was really pretty paper to go with it. But yeah, if you ever notice there's a dominant amount of green, or there's that's why. Just some combo ones that I kind of think went together, just trying to match. This is a press kit photo. And ones that I think went with the time, I think this one is another press kit photo. Yes. Actually, yeah, it's funny. I put this not only to get 2 pictures on the page, but this one up top underneath here is mangled. Like somebody had it like stuck to something else, and it tore very badly. Fortunately, not on the picture, but just the rest of it's just all black, but it's just really tore up and stuff like that. So that's a really pretty picture, a live picture. I really like that one. Funny, she wore gloves, but right, like I think there's a glove on it. Sometimes she'd wear gloves, which always looks so pretty, but other times not. That looks like she's wearing gloves there. But yeah, that's just another one, Stevie in action, right? Stevie with all that twirl and stuff like that. It's just such gorgeous photos. These are pretty, but I love when, things are kind of in motion. Keep hitting that damn light. I think that I'm going to cut this one short, because this next session I'm going to show you is all one big session. So I'd rather not start it, and then the video would get too long. So we're going to end this one and be excited, because the next one I have is a whole bunch of photos from If Anyone Falls video. And I came into some negatives for those a long time ago, and I just again could not believe my fortune and a lot of the photos I have. So stick around for that. That's what's starting next time. And thank you again so much for visiting, and everybody have a great night. We'll see you next time for episode 3, volume 7, starting out with If Anyone Falls photos. Good night.